You can't buy respect. I was just thinking about this. The idea that we've all heard you can't buy me love, right? And of course, people would disagree and say, well, you can. Sure, with enough money, you can buy all the women you want, but that's not buying love, of course. You can buy a form of what people might call love with money, but it's the exact same way with respect. You can command respect, and some people will fulfill that and definitely respect you because you're an authoritarian type person. But you can't force someone who doesn't respect you to respect you through any type of force or coercion. And I think that's important to remember. We might fear a person, we might have respect for a person's achievements, but to actually respect a person for who they are, their personality, their behavior, that's a little more complicated. And I don't think we give it enough real credit. Such as, you might respect a leader for being strong, but this person might have done horrendous things that no respectable person would do, that you wouldn't actually respect that action. But overall, there's a certain respect for the person. We've all made mistakes, right? And as to how big that mistake is and how important that is in the grand scheme of things is, in the eye of the beholder, of course. We're willing to forgive quite a bit if we highly respect someone. I think that the more that we love and respect a person, the more horrendous things we're willing to forgive them for doing, for example, or for saying to us or to others. And therefore, respect somehow has to come from a connection with the person for long enough to, or an understanding of that person, I guess. A true respect for a person has to come from an understanding of their intentions and what they're trying to achieve. It's easy for people to completely lose respect for a great person over one thing they've done, and that's interesting. It's an interesting concept when we don't often deconstruct the word respect and what it really means. For example, I don't demand respect from people. I don't think anybody owes me respect. Though, if somebody treats me disrespectfully for no reason, I'll vocalize my thoughts and feelings and say, hey, that's disrespectful. But sometimes I won't say anything because I really don't care. If it's a person I care about, then I will always tell them that I feel disrespected. But it just doesn't happen because I feel like people around me respect me. And fortunately, it's I realize that a lot of other people don't have that same respect, and sometimes it's not fair because people are respectable and they're kind and they're treated like crap. But a lot of the time, people are pieces of crap and they treat others like shit, and then they demand respect and they expect respect from others when they can't respect other people. That's a little bit more difficult. So you can pay somebody to pretend they respect you, just like you can pay someone to pretend they love you. But you can't actually buy respect. And I think nothing hurts, for example, a narcissist or an egotist's feelings more is when people don't like them. Donald Trump would be a perfect example. I figure people's jets have cooled down enough about politics now to actually, talk about Trump, regardless of how you feel about the U.S. or his policies. He, as a person, is very easily butthurt and has extremely thin skin for reasons, whatever reasons. But for a guy who claims to have everything and know everything, it's basically just kind of a projection of that insecurity. You can see the same thing in Kanye or Ye, in this the any type of behavior, being infamous just to stay famous, saying things that are ridiculous in order to stay relevant and to maybe a little bit of a mental breakdown, who knows, but that's not really the point. The point is that when those kind of people, very wealthy, very powerful and respected people, aren't respected by some, they get very upset about it. And it's curious to me how anyone could ever believe that they will be liked or respected by all people. I know that there's people out there who don't respect me. I don't care because I'm not trying to win anybody's affection. If people see who I am and they know my intentions, they'll know I'm a good person. But people all the way across the world, or some stranger I've never met who has some idea of my life or who I am, it's funny, maybe years ago I would buy into that. I'd argue with them about how dare you question who I am in my life. But realizing that people do it just to get people's attention, it's the same as people being infamous to be famous. People will spread negativity just to get feedback, just to make people angry or upset, trolling in a way. And I don't know, sometimes that gets confused with having civil discussions about topics that are uncomfortable. That's often where I think that I've lost respect of some people, is because I have a different opinion from them. And that's pretty sad. A lot of people have different opinions from one another. I've met plenty of people who I've discussed many topics with online, and the minute I post something that conflicts with what they want to believe, it could be anything from politics to saying I don't believe in reincarnation or ghosts, or something just mundane and random, or even when I post something talking bad about conspiracy theorists and how they, mush everything together into one big conspiracy, and Bigfoot's a multi-dimensional UFO alien, whatever it might be, people actually get personally offended by that, and they will lose respect for a person, not based on anything the person's done, but what they believe. This is an interesting one, because respect, when it comes to beliefs, that can be a difficult one. I can respect a Christian, even if they believe the Bible verbatim, even if they believe that Jesus is the only path and that I'm going to hell. I can still respect that person, especially if they can conduct themselves in a respectful way. So that's what it comes down to me. I have a friend who's a conservative. I'm not. I have friends who are religious. I'm not. It doesn't mean that you have to believe what other people believe. And I think when we're in person with one another, we can respect and get along, in spite of our beliefs. But it seems like online that just doesn't happen. And so maybe we could carry a little bit of that humanity to the strangers we meet, and try to share things in a respectable way where we're not just being complete asses to one another. And at the same time, that might open up some dialogue with people that we previously would have just argued with. That's why I don't go to Twitter. It's a cesspool of people who just want to type over each other. But I think in certain YouTube comment sections, and on Twitter, of course, anywhere, there's good places and bad places. But there are some great discussions to be had, especially when people are willing to not go right on the attack, but actually ask people, what are your intentions and why do you feel the way you feel? But when it comes to respect, it really is tricky with strangers. It is. I mean, I've had YouTube channels that I watched for a long time, and then I lost respect for the creator only because they did something like sold out to some crappy company, or, sponsored something that was obviously bullshit, whatever it might be. Knowing that part of me says, okay, well, this person has to make money too. They want to make money off of what they're doing. But I have this kind of work ethic and belief in fair business practices where honesty comes first and foremost, because I think that's what we need in this world. So what I'm getting at is that what I find respectful is going to be different than a businessman who works on Wall Street, and he respects a man who can go out and rip off everybody and make off with all their money. So we all respect something different. The question is, who do you want to be respected by? It's the good example of the clothing we wear and the way we dress. Some people wear certain brand name clothes because they want to be respected. And I've always said, even as a kid, well, do you just want to be respected by people who are so shallow that they think that clothes make the person? Because that's who you're going to be respected by. So know your company. Know the company you keep. And desire to be respected for the right reasons, and don't give a shit about people who don't respect you for the reasons you don't care about. Because ultimately, we're all here together, but we're all living our own lives. So you got to figure out what works for you. Tally ho.